All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of our webinars at ID Analytics. Just before I proceed, may I get a reaction from those of us on the call at this time, just to be sure that everyone can hear me? Just a reaction of your choice, quickly. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you, Patience. All right, good. So thank you, welcome everybody once again to this episode. This is the sixth one. We've had five before now, so there's the sixth, which means for anyone who is joining us for the first time, it might be interesting for you to get a look at the recordings of the past sessions on our YouTube channel. The link to that will be dropped on the chat in a moment. Thanks again for joining, everyone. So ID Analytics, what we do essentially is we are a training firm and we empower individuals and organizations with the needed data skill. So that is essentially what we do. So if you are interested in upskilling or you are just looking to start out and you want some learnings around data analysis, you could reach out to us. We have a number of packages that would suit your actual persona. All right, so today we have a seasoned professional with us, Babatope Agbeyo. So Babatope is a seasoned finance professional. He's also a corporate trainer. He's been doing what he's going to do tonight. He's been doing it for quite a while, maybe long before I knew him. So, and I'm sure for those of us that we attended one of the past webinars, you probably would have seen his face or you've heard his voice. You're going to hear that again tonight. And tonight we would be talking about conditional formatting. So when we talk about formatting in Excel, there are basically two areas to it. Well, I'm not the facilitator. I'm not the one to talk about this. But one of the areas we're going to be looking at tonight is on conditional formatting. So this is an area that a lot of people struggle with. Even people would have been using Excel for quite a long time. They struggle with it because it could get tricky easily and things could get easily complicated. What are some of the nuances? What are the basics? What are the foundational things that you need to know? And how can it get complicated? So those are some of the things we'll be talking about tonight. So like I mentioned, Babatope would be our facilitator for tonight. As we progress with the conversation, if you have questions, please do well to note them somewhere when it's time for us to attend to that, so you could easily pick them up. And we have our guest speaker attend to all of your questions. And also, as soon as I hand over to Babatope, I'm going to be dropping his LinkedIn profile URL on the chat. It would be nice for you to connect with him. Not for my benefit, but for yours, because he's one of those who also on LinkedIn they share their thoughts around a number of subject areas, especially if you are in the field of finance. It will be nice. You would have lots of learnings if you follow Babatope on there. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us tonight for this episode of the webinar. At this time, I would be handing over to Babatope. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Heidi. Good evening, and thanks for the invitation. It's nice to be here once again, and thanks for inviting me. All right, hi, good evening, everyone. Maybe good morning or good afternoon. I know definitely it's not good night. Happy to be here once again, and let's get right into it. Today, we're going to be talking about conditional formatting. And then when you have conditional formatting, what comes to your mind? I just want you to type in the chat. When you hear of conditional formatting, what comes to your mind? When you hear conditional formatting, what comes to your mind? Just type in the chat. I know some of us are not new to conditional formatting. So when you hear of conditional formatting, what comes to your mind? And if you are hearing this for the first time, feel free just tell me, oh, I'm hearing this for the first time. All right, anyone? I should assume that you guys have not heard about conditional formatting before. Okay, all right. I can't hear from anyone. I do hope that they have access to the chats. Anyone wants to just type in something? When you hear conditional formatting. Conditional formatting. What comes to mind? Okay, formatting conditionally. Okay. All right, so that's when I changing the word for conditional formatting to formatting conditionally. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, so when it comes to formatting in Excel, you can talk about custom formats. You can talk about custom formats. You can talk about, well, maybe it's related. You can talk about number formats, right? And you can also talk about container formatting, which simply means that you are formatting based on a condition. And then when you talk about format, right? I think a simple example that I'm going to use is, let's say, for example, if you have a lady, when the lady had raw powder, pancake, and then all this makeup, right? You can tell that maybe the person has formatted her face. Let's use that word, right? So that means that you are formatting. However, in Excel, when you say conditional formatting, it simply means that you are formatting based on condition. When you highlight the word condition, highlighting the word condition, what are the cases that you really need to know, that you need to be aware of when you are dealing with conditional formatting? There are some areas or some key things in Excel that you need to know when you are using conditional formatting. And I'll just make it simple. Number one, you need to know about cell referencing. Number two, you also need to know about logic. Logic. Now, under logic, when you talk about maybe I just start from cell referencing, under cell referencing, you need to be aware of, say, absolute cell reference. You need to be aware of relative cell reference, and then you also need to be aware of mixed referencing. And by mixed reference, I mean the row constant and the column constant. And then by logic, right, back in the days, you used to say less than, greater than, equal to. So you need to also be familiar with the use of the greater than sign, less than sign, the equal to sign, the not equal to sign, greater or equal to sign, and then the less or equal to sign. There are some host of functions as well that you need to be familiar with when you're also using this cell referencing. It works. I mean, you can define your formula. It's as flexible as that when you're making use of a conditional formatting. Right. So today I'm going to show you what how you can do conditional formatting in Excel, and also we use some tricks, some functions as well, um, getting this done. The first thing I want us to do is that I know most likely you must have gotten this exercise file that I'm going to be using during the session. For you to get conditional formatting, you come to Home, right, under the Home section, then you will see it just under where you have start, you see conditional formatting. When you hover around it, you'll see highlight cell rules, right? That is, let's say, for example, you want to highlight maybe based on a particular condition. Remember that talk about the logic, right? What is your logic, right? Maybe it is greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to, greater or equal to, or less or equal to. So now when you come back to this conditional formatting, right? If you come back to the conditional formatting, you want to highlight the cell based on a particular condition. Now, it may not only be a single cell, it may be a range of cells that meet a particular condition, right? So you can say maybe it is greater than, you can say it is less than, it is between, that is within a particular range, it is equal to, let's say, the text that contains a date occurring and then duplicate value. Oftentimes you see people use duplicate value. Let's say, for example, I have like a range of data, and then you don't want a duplicate. You want to remove a duplicate. You want maybe like unique data. Then you want to say, oh, you should remove duplicates. Let me give you an example before we dive into the session proper. Let's say, for example, I type it here, something, and I don't want this to show whereby I'm typing. I have Babatope being repeated twice. I just want to capture it once. So I'll come to my conditional formats, and then I'm going to say highlight maybe duplicated values, maybe duplicated, and then maybe highlight based on a particular color, maybe yellow, or maybe you want to highlight maybe red, as the case may be, right? Now, if you type another name here, can you see it has highlighted, it has filled it based on the condition that I'm giving to you. But then let's say, for example, I change it to, let's say, Godwin, right? Then I press enter and see it goes up. And then if I come here as well, and then I type out of it and say, oh, God, you don't need to type it twice. It shouldn't be duplicated, right? And that is one way, right, of using functional formatting. And if you come back here, and then let's say, for example, I select this particular range, then I come to home, I come to conditional formatting, and then let's say that I want to select, assume that this is the range of the scores of students in a particular class. And I want to select those that maybe the score above, let's say 8C, right? That is when it is greater than 8C. I want it to highlight it, let's say green. And of course, you can also change the color as well, depending on whatever you want to do. You can come to custom format color, select any color of your choice. Let's say, for example, you want maybe a light blue. One of the rules guiding this is that you should also try to make use of a light color. Don't use deep color, because at the end of the day, you may end up not even seeing the text behind it, except maybe you want to change the fonts. I'll come here, change the font to, let's say, white, and then I click on OK, and then I click on OK. Yeah, this is fine. See that I was able to change both the font color, right, and then the selfie. Do you understand? And when you look at this, they are all greater than 70. If I come here, this is 66. If I change this to 70 and I press enter, it's not greater than 70, it is 70. But then if I change this to 71, okay, this is, let me see what condition did I use. So because this should actually meet that condition. So let me confirm that. Come to conditional formatting, and then if I click on manage rule, all right, so I've said greater than 80. That was the condition that I used, right? So if I close this, then I come here and I type 81. What do you think is going to happen? Then you see that it's going to fill it right in that particular column. So also you can come back to the conditional formats. Aside from this highlight rule, you can also make use of maybe a top. Let me clear the format first so that we can go to another one. Let me just clear the rule. All right. So you can also come here and then say that, oh, maybe you want to select the maybe top 10 or top 10%, or maybe you want to select maybe bottom 10, or you want to do bottom 10%, maybe above average. Let's say, for example, if there is a particular range of average that you have, you can also decide to say, oh, you are selecting above average. Another one that people tend to use, right, is the bars. You can decide to use the bars as well, right? Maybe you want to use the tab bar. Just select any one that you want to use. Oftentimes people use this for when you have like all this your like at scale, and then you've done something like maybe 1 to 5, you've rated like 1 to 5. Now you can now do something like an heat map, right? So you can use this for a heat map as well. So you just rate it on, how many people have selected 5, many people selected 4, based on maybe I strongly agree, agree, disagree, and then strongly disagree, as the case may be. So you can make this all this, and of course you can also change the color as well, depending on whatever color that you want to use. Just come to more rule, and then come to where you have a solid field, change the color that you want. Even if you want to include a border, you can include a border around it, and every other thing that you want to actually use doing that, right? And there's some other features as well. You have the color scale, you have the icon, any icon that you want to use. And this does not mean that this is not flexible. I think the default is 360. 60, maybe 67 or 69. Let's come to the rule. Let's say, for example, I click on more rule, and then you see that this is less than, when this less than 33, it gives you the one with is this orange color now, and then when it is less than 67, then it gives you the one with a yellow fill, and then when it is actually greater than 67, then it gives you the one with this green fill. And you can decide to change the icon as well. Let's say, for example, I use this, and in fact, you can even do a reverse. Let's say, for example, you want anyone that is maybe greater than 67 to have it. You can also select from here as well to use whichever design that you actually want. Let's say, for example, I want to change to this particular design, and then for this, let's say I want to just use, let's say I want to use this, and then for this particular one, I want to use this. And of course, I don't want maybe 33. I can decide to change this to, let's say, 20, right? I change to 20. And for this, I can also change to, let's say it is 50. Then I click on OK, right? And then you see that it works. Assume that I don't want the number to show as well. You can also do something around it. So you come here, you come to, let's click on manage rule, and then I can click on edit rule. Then you can see we have show icons only. So if it's only the icon that you want to show, and just click on this, and then you click on OK, and then you click on apply, then you click on OK. What do you see? Observe, you see that the numbers are not here. Well, not that the numbers are not here per se. If you look at my formula bar, you see that the numbers are still here, right? You see that the numbers are still here, but then you cannot see it. And that is why somebody wants to said that a format does not change what is in a cell. It only changes what you see. And what you see does not necessarily mean what is in a cell. Right? It is because of the format that you've actually given it, it's because of the condition that I've actually given it, and that's the reason why you have this. Right. Now let me take this off. Let me remove the rule. Let me just clear the rule from the entire sheet, right? Now, yeah, you can also remember that I mentioned earlier that this can also be flexible. You can decide to make this to be flexible by writing your own function, right? But then just before we go there, let me show you some other things that you can do. So if you come here and then click on new rule, when you click on new rule, you have new formatting rule. And on the new formatting rule, you can format all cells based on their values. You can even introduce, maybe you want to have 3 colors, you want to have a data bar that we talked about earlier. Then you can format cells that contain, right? Maybe it contains a particular value. That is what you want to actually format. You can decide to do that. Let me teach you a use case that I use this for. Let's come back to this particular cell. Let's assume that you work in a particular organization. Maybe you are the HR or maybe the team lead, and then you want your staff to actually fill a particular section. You want them to fill a particular section of maybe a file that you're sending to them. And then let's say that we have the names here, and then you want them to maybe enter their let's say I just want to give like an example here, right? Let's say font type, right? Let me just call it okay, let me call it shoe size. Shoe size. Let's say you want to do a Christmas, you want to do Christmas for them, right? So you want them to enter their name and then their shoe size. Now, and then you want a situation whereby you also have maybe another data. Let's say that I have I'm just thinking of another thing I can include here. Let's say that I want to say, okay, so let me just put age, right? But then you don't want them to enter here. You just want them to enter data in your particular cell. So what you're going to do is that you can just say, let me say that this is bank somewhere, right? And then I'll come in, and then I want the situation whereby once they fill in here, right? Once they fill in this place, then there's not going to be, it's not going to be shaded. But then if there's a need for them to enter a data there, then the particular cell is going to be shaded, or maybe there's going to be like a color fill in that particular cell. What I'm going to do is that I'll come to my home, I'll come to conditional formatting, then I'll click on new rule. Now, when I click on new rule, then I'll click on format only cells that contain. And under this format set, only cells that contain, you will see format only cells with. You click on this drop down, you have cell value, you have specific text, you have date occurring. You see a lot of things that can do with this. Specific text, you have date occurring, you have blanks, you have no blanks, you have error, and then you have no errors. But then what I'm going to do is the one that is blank. So I'll click on blank, then I'll click on format. Then I will then go to my, I'll go to fill, and I'll look for maybe a color field. I can use this. Then let's say, for example, I also want to include a border. I can click on this to include an outline border. Now click on OK, and I'll click on OK. Now what do you observe? I I now have more like a fit in. Now, if let's say, for example, I'm particular, my shoe size is let's say size 35. Once I press enter, what do you observe? You see that the shade, the color field has gone off. It's no longer there. Once I delete this, it comes back. And then if I select, if I type, I mean, I'm not sure there's anybody that uses size. It's 8. I wish I've seen that before, anyways. But then, let's say, for example, my shoe size is size 80. Then press enter. What do you observe? It goes up. And you can format this properly as well. You can come to home, come to your border, and then you can decide to do maybe like a line border. You select these, and then come back here, and then you can just say maybe like an outside border, right? And then you have this just like this. And then if I delete this, what you see is like this. And one thing about it is that I can decide to then copy this down, right? And it's applicable across. So I can then call this maybe serial number. I have serial number here, and I have one. Then I have this plus one, and I copy this down. I copy this down, and I ask them to, I can even copy it and then paste it here. So that's what I need. Let me take this page off. And this is me just trying to design this right for the use of the organization. So I'll come here and I'll put maybe, let me use top and bottom, and then I'll come here. I can decide to just make this to be left indented, right? And then I'll just come here, and then I'll say, so I just give like an instruction, right? So you have like an instruction here. You give them an instruction here, what you want them to do. You just put instruction here. And everybody can come here and then just type the name, and then you enter your shoe size. Let's say my shoe size is size 90, and that's all. Then another person comes in as well. Let's say his name is let's say Godwin, right? Godwin comes in, and then what is his shoe size? Maybe his shoe size is 20. Then it comes here, and then you enter it. And at the end of the day, you have this thing be populated, and by the time you delete this guy, it goes off. So that's one use case. Let's come back to our data sets. And then what I want to do really is that, let's say, for example, now we want to highlight maybe those that score above 80, or those that score above 90, or maybe 70. You can also decide to write the condition yourself. All you need to do is to select the range that you want to apply the conditional format, and then come to where you have the conditional format, then click on the new rule. What do you want to do, right? I want to use a formula to determine, which cell to highlight, right? And then what I want to do is that I want a situation whereby when this guy writes, when this guy is actually maybe greater than 90, or maybe greater than 80, or maybe greater than 70, depending on the condition that you're writing, right? So if you select this, now when you select it, can you see that this is actually an absolute cell referencing? But then I don't want this to be absolute cell reference. I can change it by pressing my F4, right, and then F4. Because if I want it to be only in this particular, what is it called? If I want it to be changing, right, based on how I'm moving, then I'm not going to format. I'm not going to lock either the column or the row. But then if I want to, let's say, for example, I want to keep referencing maybe a particular column, or maybe a particular particular column, what you need to do is to lock the column. And if you want to keep referencing a particular role, all you need to do is to keep is to lock the rule as well. So I'll just say that equals to, let's say when it is greater than um, when it is greater than 80, let me just use 80, right? And I click on format. If it is greater than 80, let's give the guy a green. And then I would, let's use a pattern color. Why not try pattern color? Let's say that I have this green, and then I want this pattern. And then I click on OK. Then I click on OK. What do you observe? Every place where I have that is above that particular condition that I've given, it has highlighted it for me, right? Then I can also decide to add another condition to it. I can come here and then say that manage rule. I want to add another condition. You know that I've said that if it's greater than 80, then it should give me this particular color field. Then I can decide to also duplicate this. So I'll just press duplicate. Then I will edit this. Then if it is less than, if it is less than, okay, so I'm saying if it's less than, now click on format. It should just give me, let's say, let me use another color. So let me say that I'm using this blue, and then I click on, let's say that I'm using this, and I click on, I don't know why this is not adjusting, and format again. Okay, so because then click on new color. Then I come here and I select this. Okay, and I click on OK, then I click on OK, and then I click on apply, and I click on OK. Can you see? Right? So you see this. But then what do you think is left? Exactly 80. The ones that are exactly 80, you see that those ones are left. I see that we've been able to apply a conditional formatting to those guys that are greater than 80 and the ones that are actually less than 80. However, that doesn't mean that you need to color all the cells that you have in your Excel. So like, I mean, you don't want to turn it to rainbow, right? You don't need to keep coloring and coloring, but then make sure that you actually know what you're driving at and what you also want to achieve. Do you get it? Now, there are other things that you can, there are other things that you can also do as well. Let me clear this. Let me clear this and then teach you some other things. Let's say, for example, let me clear from the sheet. I want to do something here. Let's do it very fast. I want a section whereby when I select cliff, it just when I want to, let's say, for example, I'm looking for a particular student. I want it to highlight it based on whatever condition I'm giving to it. So what I'm going to do is that I'll come to this particular cell. This is going to be my control cell. And then on my control cell, I'll come to data, and then I'll come to data validation. And I'll click on data validation. And I'll click on this drop down. I will select list. Under my source, I'm going to select this. I will just select everything that I have here. Then I'll click on OK, right? And if I click on the drop down, then I have cliff. If I click on that drop down, I can select whatever that I want to select. Do you get it? Now, based on what I have here, I want it to go in here. That is, when this is equals to this, right? When this name is actually equals to this name, then I want it to highlight the entire row for me. How do we do that? There are different ways to getting this done, right? There are actually different ways to getting this done. Number one, I'm going to be using a very simple approach, and then I will teach you more like a complex approach, but then it is not necessary. Let's use a very simple approach. Now, what I'm going to do is that, if you come to this particular cell, and then you say equal to select this. Okay, I think I have a question, so you can proceed. All right, please proceed. You have a question.
Babatope, please continue. We'll take all questions when you're done.
Okay, well, that's fine. All right. So now, if I say that this cell, what I have here, are you equal to this? Then it's going to give me a false. Then if I drag down, let me just say that I drag down, and you see that I have only one true. Can you see it? I have a true here because this is the only role that meets that particular condition. right? And there's also another way to getting this done, but then you see that you don't need to do something that is actually very complex in Excel, right? You can also say equal to search. Just say equals to search, right? What are you looking for? I want to find text. I'll select this, I will lock it, and then I'll put a comma within which text. I'm going to select this, right? I'll select this, and I'll close my bracket, and I'll press enter. It gives me a value error. If I copy this down, then you see that it's able to recognize it here, right? Because that's the only place. But then let's say, for example, I now want it in a situation whereby it is number. That is, it's not giving me a value error. What I'm going to do is that I'll come back here and I'll app is number. Is number. And I'll close the bracket and I'll press enter. Then I can copy this down. What you observe, the same thing that this is doing is also what this is doing for me. But then one thing that I've seen people do today is that they copy formulas blindly. What do I mean? Because an individual has done it this way does not mean that there is no any other approach to getting things done. I used to tell people that there are several approaches to get things done in Excel, right? There are different ways, or let's say there are different approaches, there are different ways to get things done in Excel. The fact that an individual has done it in a particular way does not mean that that's the only way. You can always explore. You can always use your own approach, use your own method. Don't just copy formula blindly. Look at it. Okay, is there another way that I can do this? Is there another approach that I can use to get this particular thing done? And then you can follow suit. So the same thing that I've done here is also what is here. And then when you look at the formula, this person is using his number search, blah blah blah. Whereas I've done the same thing here by just saying that this particular guy here, the name is it equals to this. Now let's proceed. I want this situation whereby, if I change this now to Bethlehem Upa, then it gives me this because this is where Bethlehem Upa is. Now I want to apply this as a condition into this my range of cell, right? What I'm going to do is that I will select the range because that is where I want to apply my condition. Then I'll come to and I'll come to conditional formatting, and I'll click on a new rule. Now, what is the rule? I want to define it. Remember that you can also make it flexible, and I'll say equal to, and I'll select this. Now, when I select this, I want to keep referring to this particular column. What I'm going to do is that I will lock the column. Now say that are you equal to this particular cell? And I'm going to have an absolute lock there. And I'll click on the format. Then by format, let's use a pattern field. So let me say that I'm using the green, and then let's say that I want to use this pattern. Let me look for another pattern. Okay, I'm trying to get a pattern that is not. Maybe that color is not. Okay, all right. Maybe I should use this. And I click on OK, and I click on OK, and you see, here we are. And if I come back here and I change this guy to, let's say, click async, then you see that it changes automatically. If I come here, then I want maybe Blake, and once I click on it, then I'm able to select it, right? And then there are some other ways to also do things, right? Let's say, for example, I don't want to use a data validation. You can also make use of like a combo box to get this done. All you need to do is come to your developer tab, and then come to your insert, and then you use your combo box, right? Use your combo box, you just draw it. This is, let me see, and delete this, and then come back here. I think that's going to be your assignment to do. So let me come to combo box, and then you can draw your combo box, right? You can draw your combo box, and then use this to select. Maybe you want to select, okay, what name do you want to select? Maybe clipboard and all of that. And also use your combo box to getting this done. But then here we use a data validation. So if you come here and then you select this guy, come here, and you select another guy, then you see how it's been done. All right, I'm going to do another thing for you. I want a situation whereby I'm selecting maybe the even numbers, right? Or maybe the odd numbers, let's say, or maybe a number that's easily divisible by 1, right? That maybe those ones that fall into that particular position. Let's say the ones that fall into maybe 1, 3, 5, 6, 9, 11, 13, as the case may be. That is a condition that I actually want to perform. And let me first clear this rule. Let me clear the entire condition that I have here. Okay, so there's also another thing. Let me teach you this very quickly. If I delete this, you see that, okay, so if I use this function for it, then you see that it's not going to work. So let me just copy this. See how people complicate things, right? So let me copy this. Let me just try to, let me copy this and then let me bring it here. I just want to show you that manage rule. If I delete this, then I click on new rule, then use this. I click on OK, let me click on format. I just want to teach you something. And if I click on OK, because this is search, this here. Let me delete this table, and then I just select this, and I'm gonna lock the column, and I close the bracket, and I close it again, and I click on OK. Right? So I click on apply, and I click on OK. Now, the reason why I have this being highlighted this way is because this is empty, right? Where's the cell? Because this is empty, if I select if I give it a name, then you see that it's going to highlight it. But then once I delete it, you see that everything comes up. What is not the way out of this? Now, remember that I told you that you should use a more like a very simple approach. But then in a situation whereby you've used this function, you are the one that want to show skill, that you're actually very good with Excel. And you try to show skill by using this particular function. Now, what's the way out of it? Now, what you're going to do really is that you come back here, right? Come back into it. Then come to O, come to your conditional formatting, then click on manage rule. Then you're going to click on edit rule. And you're going to now wrap this into, because you want it to meet a particular condition. And the condition is that the powerhouse, maybe the control cell, should not be empty. I'm going to have and here, and I'll open the code, right? I'll open the code, and I'm going to select this, which I'm going to lock it, and I'll say that not equal to empty. And I'll put a comma, and then I'll close the bracket just at the end. And I'll click on OK, and I'll click on apply, and I'll click on OK. So now if I delete this now, and you see that it's not going to give me, it's not going to select everything, it's not going to highlight everything until I then come back here, and then I select this, and you see that it's highlighted. If I come here as well, and it's highlighted, right? However, instead of doing this, why not just do this? Very simple and very easy and very straightforward. I'll teach you one last thing just before I go. If I come here, then I will clear the rule in the entire sheets. Now, for this particular one, what I want to do is that now there's a function in Excel that is called mod. By mod, right? You know, back then when you do binary numbers, and by binary numbers, you say that let's say 2 in 3. Now, 2 in 3 is 1 remainder 1. So what mod does for you is that it returns the remainder. It returns the remainder. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are on this part, but let's say that I have 1 here, and I have 2, and then I have this 3, then I have 4, 5, 6, 7. And I come here, and I say equals to mod, and I select the number, right? This is the number, then comma the divisor. Now, if I say 2, if I type 2 here, and let's do a very quick mathematics. I want to test you guys if you still doing mathematics. Let's say that this is 1 divided by 2. 1 divided by 2 is what? What is 1 divided by 2? Anyone? 1 over 2 is what?
0.5.
Okay, 0.5. No, so don't give me the actual value. When you're doing binary number, so when we do binary number, I say is
That's
zero.
0 remainder 1.
Yeah, that's is zero remainder one. So if I press enter, what do you observe? It gives me the remainder. Now, if I copy it to the right, 2 in 2, it gives me 1 remainder 0. So if I copy this to the right, you see that it gives me 0. By the time I copy to the right, if I say 2 in 3. 2 in 3 is 1 remainder 1. So if I copy this to the right and then I copy across, then you see that this is giving me 2 in 3, that is 1 remainder 1. 2 in 4, that is 2 remainder 0. You understand? And that is how the mod function works. Also, there's a function I will call roll. So if I say roll equals to roll, it returns the exact row that I'm in. So if I press enter, it tells me that I'm on roll 47. Do you get it? This is more like roll 47. Now, if I come here, I say equals to roll, and it's going to give me 50 because I'm on roll 50. Do you get it? I'm on roll 50. Now, there's also a way around it. Let's say, for example, you want to maybe use it to number. You can just say that. I mean, you can always what's it called, modify this. But then let's go in quickly and then test what exactly we actually driving at. So what I want to do here is that I want to say that, oh, I like maybe the ones that are even number, or maybe the one that are divisible by 3, or the one that are I need the one that are maybe divisible by 3, or maybe the one that are divisible by 2, as the case may be, right? Without a remainder. So what I'm going to do is that I will come here and I will say equals to mod, right? I'll say equals to mod, and I will I'll type another function which is rule, open the bracket, close the bracket, then command. Now remember that what is my divisor? Let's say that my divisor is 3, so I'll type 3, I'll close bracket, then I'll press enter. This is giving me 0. Let me copy this guy down. I put the copy down. Now, what I really want is that all these places where I have 0, I want them to be 1, right? Can you see? Where I have is 0, I actually want them to be 1. What I'm going to do is that I will then come here and I will say plus 1. Then I press enter. I copy this down. Then wherever where I had 0 before, then I now have 1. But then I want a decision whereby all the places where I have 1, right, I want it to give me true. So what I'm going to do is that I will then come in, I will say if this is equals to 1, right, then it should give me, let's say, true. Otherwise, it should give me a false. Close the bracket and I'll press enter. I copy down, and what you see, I have true, 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 and then true. Then every other place, then I have false. Do you get it? Now, what I'm now going to do is that I will then select it. I'll copy it. Then I'll select this range. I'll select this range. I'll select this range. Now, this can give me the on right. Then I'm going to select this range. Then I'll come to home and I'll select conditional formatting and I'll click on a new rule. Then under my new rule, then I'll select use a formula to determine. And I'll come here and I'll paste it. Now, if I do this, if I paste this, it's not referencing any particular cell. So there's no way it's going to know what I'm actually referencing. So what I'm going to do is that in between this rule, I'll come in and I'll select this. All right. Let's say I select this. Now I'm going to make this a relative cell reference, and I'll then click on browse. Let's say that I'm using color green. Don't mind me. It's like I love green or lemon color. This is even green. Maybe lemon, I don't know. And I click on OK, and I click on OK, right? When you observe those ones that are, you see, this is this is one. You know that one is going to be starting here again. This is true. Can you see? This is true. Then this is true. Do you get it? Now, if I change this to two, if I want to change this to two, I can change this to two as well. Then I'll copy this down. And let's go and try it in that formula. So I'll just come here. I'll come to home. Then I'll come to conditional formatting. I'll click on manage rule. Then I'll click on edit rule. Now, if you've entered a rule before and then you want to edit it, there's also a possibility to edit. Then you can click on edit rule. And under your edit rule, just come to where you have three, then change it to two, then click on OK. And in fact, if you also want to change format as well, and also change format, then click on apply and click on OK. All right. And you see that it's selecting this one, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. All right. I think that's going to be the limit of today's class. Let's have the question and answer.
Thank you so much, my Oga. Thanks a lot for the session. This is interesting. For me, one of the use cases, the one you started with, the highlights and the entire column, was one I really struggled with at the time, because again, is if you, like you mentioned, a lot of it has to do with cell referencing. So if you don't quite understand how cell referencing ties into this, it's going to bring a lot of troubles. Thanks a lot for breaking that down, and for sharing from your knowledge with us. Okay, so Tokwe, your hand has been up. Is it is okay? Baba Tokwe is the facilitator. Then Tokwe hand is up. Okay, I Tokwe, do you have a question for us? Tokwe Olorunsheye, are you here with us? Or that was an error? So while we're expecting Tokwe to come up, everyone on the call, thanks again for joining. One of the key takeaways that I think that everyone should take out of this session today is that when you work in Excel, you need to be able to foresee what the result should be. And what do I mean? If you look at all of the use cases that Babatope took us through, you will realize that for the most part of it, he actually created the kind of result he was expecting outside of conditional formatting first, to sort of give a picture to what he's expecting, by way of highlighting what should be true and what should be false before even putting that into conditional formatting at all. So that would help you a great deal, especially if you are just trying to get a good hang of what conditional formatting is, because to a large extent, you already have an idea of what you want to see and how you want to see things. And what is then next is how to just transfer that into conditional formatting. So that's a good approach that you may want to always follow whenever you want to work with conditional formatting. But again, things can get a lot complicated easily. So my question, Babatope, will be that, are there limits to what we should try to achieve with conditional formatting? And I'm coming from the angle of reporting. So a lot of the times when people create reports in Excel and you want to make things a lot flexible, especially by way of calling out certain numbers or certain areas of some visuals or some part of your report, and you want to do that conditionally. So when some slices are selected, it filters the report to something. You want it to sort of give visuals to those areas that you want to call out. In your opinion, would you say that one should be mindful of how much we use conditional formatting, or does it have any implication on reporting maybe slowness of your workbook, or just how interactive things can get quickly? What are your experiences with it? Are there limits to what we should do? Are there portions that we should take when it comes to using conditional formatting and reporting?
Yeah, thank you very much, Musi, for the question. And I think I mentioned a bit of this earlier. Number one, when you're doing conditional formatting, the fact that you can format a particular cell based on a condition does not mean that you should apply a condition to every cells, all the cells that you have in your report or maybe in your workbook, right? So you need to limit it. And that was why, when I did a particular example here, when I was using, I think the first example that I did, that greater than 80, less than 80, that I actually did earlier, right? You don't want a situation whereby you now have colors everywhere, and then it's not going to maybe like a rainbow color everywhere. Also, I talk about the color that you use as well. You need to make it of more like a light color. Otherwise, if you're using a deep color, then you need to then make use of a font color that is white so that the value or the data around that will actually pop up as well. Also, there are times that people use maybe icons and the likes, or maybe make use of bars. There's a need for you to then give more like an explanation or details so that people that are looking at it will be able to understand. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, I like this particular column, and I come to O, and I come to maybe conditional formatting, and I say that it should use, let's say, icons, right? And I select this particular icon. You get it. And I select this particular icon. Then I then come back here. So let me see. Let me click on manage rule. Then I have let me edit rule, and then I say show only icons. Then I click on OK. Then I click on apply. Now this doesn't an individual looking at this without any instruction will not be able to tell what you've done in this particular column. Yes, fine, you've been able to use icon, looking pretty well. Your report is not a function of how pretty it is or the look and feel. It's a function of the decision or the informed decision that people can make out of it, right? So it's not a function of you being able to format it properly. It's not a function of you being able to do a lot of logic and rest. But then, can people make use of that report? Is it understandable? Is it something that when an individual picks it, without you telling the person that this is what you've done, the person can easily understand it, read it, and also be able to interpret it. So for something like this, what I expect is that there should be like an instruction, right? There should be like an instruction that will tell you that, oh, when you see green, that is greater than maybe 80. When you see yellow, this is what is happening. When you see this is what is happening there, right? And that will help you to easily tell. Otherwise, you want to limit it to a situation whereby you have both the both the icon and the values, right? So if I come back to my manage rule and then I click on edit rule, then I uncheck this and I click on OK, right? Then I click on apply and I click on OK. With this here, this is fine. The person will be able to easily tell. A situation, I think I made mention of an example earlier where you are using it for a an heat map. Now, when you do all this like at scale, you may want to use heat map, right? So you may want to use heat map, and then you want to see, okay, the one that is maybe on a scale of 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Now, based on the length of the bars, that is going to tell you, okay, maybe this is strongly agree, this is maybe agree, disagree, as the case as the case may be. I may not be able to tell, but maybe I've not experienced that if it's going to slow down your workbook. I've not experienced that, so I may not be able to tell. Maybe it's going to slow down your workbook. However, I think key things really is that number one, make sure that you put some details, right, like an instruction, so that it's people are able to easily understand what you've done. Let's say, for example, now this one that I highlighted greens here, right? An individual may not be able to easily tell that what I've done is to format this based on the condition. The person might even think that it's just a color field. That's what I've done. Or maybe I've done maybe like banded rows. That's what I've done. Or maybe like a table. The person will not be able to tell that, oh, there is a particular condition there. However, if I now come down here and I put an instruction, right, that, okay, I've, there's a particular, maybe the cell that are highlighted in green are the ones that are odd numbers, or maybe odd numbers are highlighted in green. With that, the person will be kind of, okay, those numbers that fall within the range of odd numbers, those are the ones that this guy has highlighted using green. And this, the person can, I mean, the user of the report will be able to interpret it. So I think, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for your responses and for the illustration. Thanks again. Do we have any other person with a question? Hopefully, we're able to take one more before we call it a wrap. Anyone has a question? Tokpe's hand is still up, but I'm not sure if he or she is close to the device. Anyone else? Any question from anybody? All right. So if we don't have further questions, we want to again appreciate Mr. Babatope for your presence with us and for sharing your knowledge with us. Thanks a lot for this. Thanks to every member of the community who has made our time to be a part of this tonight. So again, tomorrow we will have a session that will be the continuation of our job case study, the one we started about 2 weeks ago. So we'll have the follow-up session tomorrow at 5 p.m. Please let's watch out for that. The link to join that session will be shared in the community. And also the session file for today and the recording will be made available to everyone. So if you are not yet a member of the community, you may want to join. So those files most likely drop on there. Thanks again, everyone, for being a part of this. Thank you so much, Babatope, for being with us despite your busy schedule. We so much appreciate you and your time. All right. Thanks, everyone. We catch when we do. Bye for now.